Hello and welcome back for the feature of iGB-Pentasia Salary Survey. So iGB's has partnered Pentasia for the annual salary survey over the past 4 years, and 2021 showed a significant uptick in sector salaries. Online gaming industry pay packets rose by an average of 12%, with increases of 25% and beyond, which is now commonplace. This ultimately makes it harder for companies to find talent, expand and grow. The full report is available on iGamingBusiness.com. And here to talk about the results, we have Andrew Cook, Head of Europe at Headcount, and we have Alastair Cleland, the Managing Director of Pentasia and Headcount. Welcome to you both.
Very much.
How are you?
Very well.
Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, good. Day 3 of Ice London.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Tired?
Did you go out last night?
No.
No, early
oh,
night.
Very sensible.
Emotional.
We knew we were on TV.
No, it's been a good show. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really good.
Ah, lovely to
Yeah.
have you in the studio. So it's new for Ice London. It's a
Yeah.
new feature.
Yep.
Hopefully it stays, eh?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Let me come to you first, Alastair.
Yes.
Have you seen an improvement in the hiring squeeze outlined in the 2021 salary survey?
The simple answer is no.
Okay.
We haven't. I was going to read out some stats, if I may, just from
Sure, let's do it.
that came out of the survey, because they just haven't improved, which I think might be interesting. So, of the survey outside of the salary, 57% of all customers said that tech hiring is the highest area of demand across the world. 65% of customers were looking to expand their headcount across 2022. 93% of customers were looking to use training programs to boost skills and productivity, and 70% rated talent shortage as their biggest hindrance to growth. So that's just interesting, I think, to take a bearing on. Has it improved? No, it's probably worsened in terms of enough people to service the level of demand across both the gaming sector and the payments and fintech sector.
And did that come as a surprise to you?
No.
Okay.
No, it hasn't at all. No, it's been worsening, if you like, in terms of demand for people, and the lack of available skilled talent has been reducing. That gap's been reducing for the last 18 months. Since really COVID started to calm down a little bit, the demand we can't find the supply to feed the demand.
And what kind of impact is that having on the market and the industry?
Well, take that.
It's causing problems. I think there's people talk about the war for talent. I don't think there's a conversation that we've had this week that doesn't reflect the fact that there's a shortage, but I'm not sure that necessarily a lot of companies have perhaps thought about how they rectify that. That's the problem, but what's the solution? I think we are certainly seeing that recruitment is taking longer. I think there are challenges in terms of finding the right people. Demand, because of other factors that have become prevalent outside of COVID, in terms of remote working and so forth, have just put greater pressures on the skill set that people need to have and be able to demonstrate, to have the trust to be able to be brought on board. We don't have a magic wand, and I think...
What? You don't have a magic wand?
No. Contrary to popular belief. Because I think there are lots of conversations that we have on a daily basis where I think that is the level of expectation. Yes, we're in the talent industry, but our skill set is to go and find that talent. It's not that we have an available pool immediately and instantaneously. I think companies need to invest in their own hiring. Giving us the responsibility or trusting us to support them is one thing, but it's a partnership. It's a two-way process.
Thank you, Andrew. And if considering tightening regulations in Europe, could this put a halt to the industry's growth on the continent, do you think?
I don't think so. Halt is quite a strong word. I mean, I would interpret halt as stop. Will it have an impact? Yes, because there are factors that come into play in terms of critical mass, where the talent is located. Is it something that needs to be considered in terms of how to approach the market and hiring processes? Absolutely. Does it put challenges on the client, the candidate, and us, in partnership to try and support that hiring? Absolutely. Will it put a halt to it? No. No. I would suggest that the vast majority of the interest this year to date has been focused around Europe, and that trend is to continue.
Yeah. And I think all I would add is that what organizations are doing is, because you're absolutely right, it is tightening regulatory and compliance across Europe, is organizations are looking at new markets. So there's still opportunity to grow. It might just not be where they currently are, but that's still feeding demand for people.
Yeah. I think companies are just having to be more flexible as well around thinking about how they onboard talent, where they find it, where they house it, the nature of the engagement. It's just putting extra pressures around, as opposed to we're just going to build an office in location X and staff that on a 5-day-a-week basis. It's changed the mechanics of how companies want to think and action.
And the US is opening up now as well. Is that creating an extra squeeze?
It is in their own country. It's not so much from a European perspective. The difficulty is getting visas for people from Europe to enable them to move to the US. Unless you currently work for an organization that has a location, you can move them. If you're trying to put people in or attract with no European location, it's very, very difficult. Yeah. What we're seeing actually is now, I think US organizations are looking at setting up a European hub to enable them to get European talent across, whether it be sportsbook, casino, technology or payments, is a different way rather than trying to get them to the US, which is very, very difficult. It's a handful, not swathes of people.
Yeah.
And how do you think European companies are managing to retain their talent? And also, what are they doing in the States to attract candidates across the pond?
Do you want to say that?
I think in terms of retaining talent, we've certainly seen some changes in the dynamics. I think one of the statistics that Alastair referred to was 93% of companies are looking to train their staff. Maybe that's not something that they've invested in to the degree that they will do now moving forward. I think they recognize that hiring people is an expensive, time-consuming, lengthy process. So if we have the resource available, maybe we can bring people in at a more junior level and offer them a career path and professional coaching. I think the other dynamic that we've seen, and again, has been prevalent, I think, in other sectors and other industries for a long time now, but is coming into gaming and payments, is the sort of the phenomena of counter offers. Companies they're reluctant to see good talent leave, and are fighting harder to keep it. Yeah.
So, sorry, to answer the question as well in a different way, is what are they doing to keep their staff? They're looking at benefits packages, they're looking at the pay grades, they're looking at, because they're having to really looking at more flexible hybrid arrangements rather than being in the office to being remote, that everyone's having to do the same things to retain their staff. Those that are saying perhaps you need to be in the office 5 days a week are going to really struggle when so many others are offering a much more flexible arrangement, and then they're having to look at the pay scales.
Yeah.
Because people are leaving, unfortunately, for money being one of the driving reasons.
There is significant wage inflation, and I think companies have got to try and answer that. There have been examples of firms that haven't reacted. There have been examples of companies that have gone through fairly detailed mark-to-market exercise, and it's paying dividends in terms of offering something that is realistic, to be able to keep talent.
And the US industry is 4 years old now. Has that sort of changed demand for clients and candidates over that time?
Well, only in the sense of it's creating more demand from a marketplace that historically hasn't had the right sort of skilled, experienced, trained talent across providing sportsbook and trading and the iGaming side as opposed to the land-based casino side. So we are encouraging organizations over there to really look at training, as well as looking at, bringing people in, look at how to train and develop your current and new staff, and also encourage to look at people from adjacent spaces, whether it be technology or marketing or wherever it might be. There isn't enough people from the industry to service the demand across the US. And the only way to do that is be a bit innovative around, bringing graduates through, entry-level people through, training them up, or looking at adjacent spaces like e-commerce or other, e-gaming or e-commerce type of organizations to bring that talent through.
And I suppose as well, from a sheer population sort of figure point, obviously there's more people to choose from, literally. And also you talk about training there, so is there sort of more homegrown talents, as it were, to choose from, perhaps?
Well, a number of our of our customers have taken, for traders as an example, or junior traders, they've taken people from college who are highly interested in sports, put them through a number of training courses, then develop them to become traders. So we're encouraging that, because there isn't trained traders, if you like, who do the odds compiling for the industry over in the US, because it's a phenomenon that's very new. It's been dealt with from abroad for so long.
I think all I would add to that in terms of trying to offer a view in terms of how companies can then react to that is simply that, 4 years is, it's a period of time that I think a lot of clients are now beginning to recognize that people should have industry experience. And therefore, by nature, you're actually condensing the population. You talk about, the number of people in the US, full stop, versus the number of people that are actually in a specific industry. And there's a tendency, I think, once a market begins to mature, that companies think that they have to hire from direct competitors, or they have to hire direct industry professionals. Whereas I think in certain cases that might be the case, might be relevant, but there are a number of different disciplines and functions where, a little bit more creativity, whether it's agnostic because of transference of skill set, or whether it's the opportunity to bring in people at a junior level, should really be looked at quite strongly. The more flexible you can be, I think the more successful you'll be in building a loyal workforce.
Yeah.
And have you seen a demand for specialists, Web3 specialists, for example?
Yeah, there's a growing demand for that across the blockchain, the crypto sector, the NFT sector. I mean, it is a growing marketplace. A lot of the industry are looking at diversifying into those areas. It is, again, a new phenomenon of skill that is required. And look, we're trying as a business, I suppose, to react to and innovate ourselves in terms of how we support customers from a talent perspective, whether it be partnering with companies like a Rubik in terms of graduate entry, who bring through a lot of junior tech graduate developers and offer them to the marketplace, to sort of enterprise solutions. But certainly Web3 is becoming a much bigger phenomenon. I think we were reading that 1,000 companies had registered in Dubai, as an example, in that space in the last 12 months. I mean, it's incredible. It's a big phenomenon. But again, there isn't necessarily the skill set there to deliver to the demand of positions available.
Interesting. And so at the beginning you read out the statistics that you said you had, in essence, predicted.
Yeah.
What are you predicting for the rest of the year?
Good question.
Well, it's not going to get any easier. I suppose. I don't know in terms of percentages. I mean, those came out of the survey that customers were telling us where their pain points were, what the issues were. I can't see it improving. I think our organisation and others that support this industry from a talent perspective just need to try and innovate and find different ways of supporting the level of demand, whether that be looking at diversity, which is a huge thing at the moment across certainly our industries, whether it be gender, ethnicity. Diversity is a huge part of what we need to look at as an industry. Graduate entry level, we need to be looking at ways of supporting the demand, because there's no easy fix. So it's not going to improve, I suppose, is my answer to that question.
Oh, so not hopeful then.
We don't have a wand, as we said. But
unless I find my magic wand.
Yes, maybe someone at the show might have one.
Indeed.
And what about you, Andrew? Any predictions?
No, I think I'd echo what Alastair said. I think on our side of the business, demand will continue, I think, to accelerate. I think there's recruitment generally, or talent management generally, I think has been traditionally been fairly transactional. I think we'll see closer partnership. I think we'll see businesses looking at a more holistic or enterprise solution to talent management. Hiring isn't always the right answer. And I think one of the things that excites Alastair and I in our respective roles and businesses is the fact that we can have a more holistic discussion around training, around graduate entry, around hiring and where to hire and how to hire, and the new market entry piece that goes with it. And I think, generally speaking, there's going to be no let-up. But I think companies are going to have to invest more in their people, their L&D programs, but also when it comes to the market, how they attract the right talent.
Very interesting stuff. So, it's day 3 of ICE London.
Day 3.
What are you going to do with the last few hours?
We've got customer meetings until 4 o'clock.
Is that the right answer? I was going to say I need a beer afterwards.
Oh, fine. No, busy. It's been busy. It's been a really good 3 days.
Yeah.
For us, anyway, yeah. Thank you.
And what's been your highlight so far?
Just be back at a show.
Yeah.
Back at an event, seeing people face to face. That's been a highlight for me. And seeing old and new customers.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And candidates.
There's no substitute for shaking hands, meeting people. The quality of conversations, the nature of the conversations is just so different to doing this on a Zoom call or Skype. It's just been nice to see, and also just to recognise, I think, what rude health the industry's in. It's been really well attended. I think on both sides, whether that's payments, whether that's gaming, there's it's been a fantastic week.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Andrew and Alastair.